Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
You have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, Walter Jones, Willie Roaf. I mean, these are the guys I had to play against sometimes. As I stand here and say their name, I still get chills. It's really hard for me to thank you guys. I know a lot of you up here on the stage. You know, the things you did to me wouldn't be legal if we weren't wearing a helmet and shoulder pads. But believe me, I'm thankful I'm on your team now. And thank you for what you guys did to help me be better.
To all the NFL tackles that came before me, guys like Jonathan Ogden, Eric Williams, Orlando Pace, Willie Roaf, Jackie Slater, Art Shell, and Tony Baselli. It was an honor to watch you guys. Thanks for paving the way.
Baltimore, 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 Baltimore. Ready? Go. Hey, buddy, listen, you gotta do it.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to Foothill High School in Henderson, Nevada for our latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, featuring that man you just saw dance up there with Ray Lewis on stage, Hall of Famer Jonathan Ogden. We're here in Nevada, right down the street, about 20 minutes away from where the NFL season is going to culminate on Sunday with the Super Bowl between the Chiefs, almost the Ravens, the Chiefs and the 49ers in the biggest sporting event in the entire world here on Sunday. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Excited to be here today asking some of our great students questions that we're going to get here throughout the program. Our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made this man right here a great football player, but it made him a great man and a great individual as well, and truly can make anybody watching this program great students in the classroom. So I'm excited to hear how these values impacted our special guest career, both on and off the field here throughout the program today. Before we do get started, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for making this program and this opportunity possible for students all over the country. Without their support, we would not be able to do this. So thank you, Extreme Networks, for all you do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the teachers, administrators, educators, anybody that is tuned in with us today, whether you're an interactive group on Zoom, you're watching us as a view-only group, or you're watching us live on YouTube. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a small part of your students' learning experience. And a special shout out to all the students and staff here at Foothill High School for letting us walk into their school to host the program here today. And then lastly, have to thank the students. Without the students, this program doesn't take place. I always joke, got a bunch of questions I'm ready to ask, but nobody wants to hear me talk the entire time. We're going to hear questions from students all throughout the program today. So students, make sure you're ready, both here, in our live audience, as well as all the students we have connected in. And no matter where you're watching us today, whether you're watching us live, online, or you're with us here at the school today, make sure if you're taking photos, because we know you're going to, make sure you put those out on social media. Make sure you tag at Pro Football Hall of Fame, at Pro Football HOF, and at Extreme Networks, and use the hashtag HOF values, and your post just might be reshared. So enough of me talking. With that, I'd like to welcome, let's give a round of applause for our special guest today, Hall of Famer Jonathan Ogden. First question we always like to ask is, I mentioned those values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Out of those five, is there one that kind of impacted your career more than others, or do you see them kind of like a team and everything kind of works together to make the best player?
Say them again slower, because I hadn't thought about it individually like that. Which one was more important?
Commitment, integrity, courage, respect, honesty.
It's kind of a conglomerate. It's all together. I mean, you can't have integrity and commitment without, they all work in tandem. In order to reach your goals, you have to focus, you have to believe in yourself, you have to put forth the effort. So all those things really come together into one total thing that makes you who you are.
How do you feel those values made you a better football player, and how did they help you in the locker room, on the field, and things like that?
It just always made me want to be better. I was one of those people who was very talented, but at the same time, I didn't want to waste that talent. I knew that I had to go into the weight room extra. I had to go into the film room. I had to go into the classroom in order to maintain my grades. I had to do whatever it took in order to attain my goals. So it always just made me the commitment, the integrity, do the right thing. When you get up in the morning, don't cheat yourself in the weight room, don't cheat yourself in the classroom, don't cheat yourself anywhere. Make sure when you look in the mirror at the end of the day, you say, did I have a great day? Did I do the best I could do today? And that's kind of, when you're by yourself, not just when you're around other people, are you doing the right thing? So that's kind of how it all entwines.
Can you give us an example of something you learned in the game? Could be one of those values, something along those lines that helped you off the field. So some of those lessons that football can teach you, and how can you apply those off the field?
One of the biggest lessons I learned in football is teamwork. I mean, you cannot attain anything on the football field without your teammates. And it's kind of the same in any other endeavor you're going to try, in a project, in anything you guys are doing. When you're going to start working, you're going to have to learn how to work with people who you might not get along with, who might have different beliefs and different things that they are. But if you're going to learn to be a team and try to work towards a common goal, then you're going to have to try to put your differences aside and say, hey, how are we going to make this the best we can? And that is kind of one of the biggest lessons I really learned from football.
I want to talk a little bit about respect. Obviously, it's one of the values we believe in at the Hall of Fame. I'll get to that, but I got to ask this question first. Walking through the doors at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, what is it like walking through as Jonathan Ogden, NFL player, NFL legend, versus Jonathan Ogden, Hall of Famer? Is there a different feeling when you walk through that door once you become a member of the Hall of Fame?
Well, you got a bust in there, and they have, and they tell you it lasts for 5,000 years. It kind of hits you right there that you're going to be immortalized in that museum forever. So yeah, there is a difference. But I didn't go into the Hall of Fame before I got there, because I was kind of superstitious. But now that I'm in there, it really is a wonderful place, wonderful people, wonderful message. The things that we're trying to do there to help the youth are really impressive. It's not just a museum for us, it's something for us to try to get back. So that's one thing that I've learned once I've gotten into the Hall that I really appreciate about it.
And then I want to talk about the idea of respect. Obviously, so for those of you that don't know, if you've watched the program before, we've talked about this. Every August during Enshrinement Week, there's a luncheon that takes place. And it's a luncheon that is only for Hall of Famers. No staff, no cameras, media, nothing. Just Hall of Famers. And we know there's a ton of respect when you're playing against an opponent on the field, but you walk into this room and there's 100 other Hall of Famers, people who idolize you, people you idolized. What is it like walking into that room, and what is that level of respect like when you step in through those doors?
Oh, it's tremendous respect. I mean, and it's kind of funny how over the years it's changed, because when you were first getting in 2013, I was a young guy and everybody above me were like the guys who I looked up to. But now we're coming into the class of 2024, and some of those guys were looking up to me and guys who I played against who were younger. So it's just kind of but at the same time, it's just kind of the history of football and all the great players. And it's just kind of nice to be woven into that tapestry of the history of the game. And it's just really cool when I'm in that room with the older Hall of Famers, and then the younger guys, that we all kind of help put football where it is today.
Mm-hmm. All right. Like we said before, we're going to have to take questions from all of our students today. So we're going to start with the students right here at Foothill. So if you have a question, raise your hand. First one to shoot their hands up gets to ask a question. Go ahead and state your name and grade, and go ahead with your question.
Spark Snowball, I'm in 10th grade, and I was wondering, what was your weight coming out of high school?
In high school, I was actually probably about 300. I'm almost the same size I am now. Almost, really. But I was a little less in shape. And, when I got to UCLA, I realized I had to kind of get myself really in the weight room and really try to utilize what I had. I had the size, but I didn't have the strength and the speed and the things I needed. I was a 4-star guy coming out of high school, but that was more because of my size. When I got to UCLA, I started to work a lot harder and really try to change the way I presented myself and the way I was as an athlete. And that's how I ended up getting drafted 4th overall, because I worked my butt off in college.
All right, we got another question from our students in here. Go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead.
And so as athletes, we all go through mental blocks and frustrations with the game.
Yes.
So I was wondering how you overcame those.
Overcoming mental blocks.
It's tough. It's not easy, but you have to just kind of ask yourself, do I love this game? How much do I love it? Am I going to push through these things? Because no matter what you're going through, realize other people are going through similar things. So we just have to kind of get the best out of ourselves that we can. And it kind of comes back to what I said earlier. I mean, if you know that you've put everything in your heart into it, and you can go to sleep at night, say, you know what, I did what I had to do. I did what I could do. And you'll feel good about yourself and a lot better about yourself if you can do that to yourself. But yeah, there's no real easy way to overcome it. The way I would overcome any frustration is I would just keep working harder, and that worked for me. Sometimes people need to take a break and just kind of step back. But whatever it is, it just has to be what you think at the end of the day is going to make you be a happier person and a better athlete at the same time.
All right, great question. We're now going to go out to some of our schools we have tuned in from all over the country today. So we're going to start with Clinton High School. So any of the folks there at Clinton, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have your students step up to the mic and the camera, and then go ahead with their question.
Question?
You have to unmute my phone. It's unmuted. Okay, so I got a question.
Go ahead.
How long have you been in the NFL?
What was that? Can you repeat that again for us?
Please?
I said, how long have you been in the NFL?
How long was your career?
My career was 12 years. I played from 1996 to 2007, all 12 years with the Baltimore Ravens. I was, I think, three-time first team All-Pro, like 6-time All-Pro, 11 Pro Bowls in 12 years. So it was a pretty good resume that I had. Pretty good.
One of the questions we had here, spent your entire career with the Ravens.
Yes.
When you were coming into the NFL, was that a goal? Or is that just kind of you get a few years and you're like, this is where I want to spend my entire career?
No, that's never, your goal is just to make it. Your goal is to get drafted and somehow survive in the NFL. Once I started to establish something in Baltimore, the goal was to hopefully get paid in Baltimore, but if not in Baltimore, to get paid somewhere because it was professional football. And thankfully, I was one of the few people who was able to never have any contention with management, was able to always get a contract done. And I was ready to retire when I still had a little bit in the tank. So they didn't really want to get rid of me. So my 12 years was really pretty smooth. I mean, I was the only person in my draft class who actually, Ray Lewis, played their entire career in one city.
Wow.
So, I mean, but it's rare in this day and age. I mean, guys like Joe Montana played for the Chiefs, a lot of guys played. Emmitt Smith played for the Cardinals. So, I mean, to finish with one team was really impressive.
Awesome. Thank you for that question there at Clinton. So you guys can go ahead and remute your microphone there, Clinton, for us. That would be a huge help. So our next question is going to come from Kings Ridge Prep Academy. They're out in Arizona. Funny story. This was actually the school we were at last year during the Super Bowl. So they're connected in for another program here in Arizona. So our folks there at Kings Ridge, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have the students step up, state their name, and then go ahead with their question. All right, whenever you guys are ready there in Arizona, go ahead and unmute your microphone. And then go ahead with your question. All right, there we go.
Hi.
Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
My God, she's so cool. Dana, can you hear me? Oh, they can hear me? Yeah. What did you realize you wanted to play in the NFL?
So when was that realization that, you talk about going to UCLA as a 4-star, coming out of high school, your size, obviously, you're made for the NFL. Was there a realization coming out of high school that you can make it, or did it take some time at UCLA to realize, like, all right, I have a legit chance to be a star in the league?
No, when I'm their age, I'm thinking, what do I want to do with my future? And it's a percentage game. The chances of being a pro athlete are very, very small. So that was not really the first thing on my radar. It was, I want to get my grades. I want to try to hopefully get into college for free and try to work towards a career. Now, in the back of my mind, I always dreamed of playing in the NFL, but like I said, it's percentages. So as I got closer to my junior year, I realized that the percentages of me going up were a little, me playing in the NFL got a little higher. So I'd say probably around my junior year in college, I really thought about the NFL as a true profession, as an option to have as a profession. But no, I don't encourage people to. I encourage them to dream and to work hard towards playing professional sports. But at the end of the day, the percentages say that it's not going to happen. So I want you to use sport to get the lessons, like we talked about in sports, so that when you are successful in life. And if you are fortunate enough to make it to professional, then that's great. But there's a reason that most people can't do it, because it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I just want success for all the youth. I want everyone to be successful in whatever they choose, however they grow up and become.
Can you tell us a little about time here at UCLA, and what your time was there like? And at the end of your career, become a great NFL player. You get your jersey retired by the school as well. What's it mean to be, up there in the rafters at UCLA?
I had a great time at UCLA. UCLA is a great school. We enjoyed playing football. We enjoyed going to school. We enjoyed partying. It's a great time. College is a great time. You guys will enjoy it if you learn how to utilize your time. But just to be part of the history of UCLA is really cool. I mean, we've had some really tremendous athletes come through that school over the years, from Jackie Robinson to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who blew out center at the time. I mean, and to be one of the few athletes on the football team whose number is retired is really an honor, because we've had a tremendous history out there, and just it's kind of a testament to like the school and what we meant to each other. UCLA and me, it was a really good relationship.
You mentioned when we started about what it's like walking in the Hall of Fame, having a bronze bust.
Yeah.
And for those of you at the beginning that we're paying attention, part of our mission at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the greats of the game, like this gentleman sitting right here, and to preserve its history. Because at our core, we are, we're a museum where we house the history of professional football. So we thought, what better way to showcase that history than actually going live to the Hall of Fame, to our Hall of Fame gallery. We got the Senior Director of Youth Education and Leadership, Jerry Shockey, there in front of something that's going to look oddly familiar to you. So Jerry, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here today and connecting with all my students across the country and the students that are live there. Excited to hear all the wisdom and advice you have for these young people. And I am here in the Hall of Fame gallery next to something pretty special here. But I want to give you guys an idea just how big of an honor it is to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now think about this. Since football started at any level, Little League, middle school, high school, college, the NFL, there have been roughly about 300 million that have played the game of football. Let's take that a step further. College level, there have been about 5 million that have played football in college. Professional level, there have been roughly about 30,000 that have been paid to play, coach, officiate, and administrate the game of football. There are only 371 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it gives you an idea of just how big of an honor it is to be enshrined in here, and also the type of greatness that you guys have in front of you. And so in any area of life, whether it's in football or a doctor or whatever, to talk to someone that has been to the level that Mr. Ogden has been to, there are life lessons you can take from, whether you've never played a down of football or you have no interest in sports at all. There are values that Mr. Ogden has learned throughout life, through the game of football, that can be applicable to anything that you do. And so my question here today is, obviously you have the bronze bust that, we say can last 40,000 years. We haven't been able to verify that yet or not. We've got to wait a few more years for that. But when you talk about something that's so long lasting, it also brings to mind the word legacy. And so can you, for these young people, number one, define legacy for you, what it means to you, and then what, I have to imagine this is part of your legacy, but not your full legacy and what you want to be remembered by. So define what what legacy means to you, and then what do you want to be remembered by?
I mean, well, you just kind of defined it for me. I mean, legacy to me is what people will remember you for being and doing, and how you helped alter whatever situation may be. And I want my legacy to be that I was a good person first, a great football player, a good father, and someone who just looked to help and try to make other people's lives better and to make other people happier, and just to try to help make this world a little better place than what it was when I leave it. And that's kind of, I've been fortunate enough to have a life that has put me in a position that I can do this now. So I mean, it's just, when you reach the place in life that I am, it's just really nice to just be able to get back. It really is.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Ogden. Appreciate that. And Jake, I'll send things back to you.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for the live look in there to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, where we hope one day everybody tuned in can go give it a chance to check it out and see all the great things we have on display in Canton, Ohio. With that, we're going to move forward with some other schools we have connected in today. So we're going to go actually back to Ohio, to the North Ridgeville Academic Center for our next question. So folks there at North Ridgeville, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have the student step up, and have them go ahead with their question.
I'm Josh Graham. My question was, who was the hardest player to block in your career?
Who was the hard? No, I've heard this once or twice, and my answer is pretty much always the same. I feel that like Derek Thomas, the late great linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, was the most complete pass rusher I've ever played against. He had speed, power, agility. He could do whatever it takes, counter moves to beat an offensive tackle. But I also say that Dwight Freeney, if you played him in Indianapolis in his heyday, had the best spin move in the history of the game. And so those two were probably the guys who I had. But I also will say this, though, that if I was on top of my game, it didn't really matter to me who I was playing. And that's the kind of mentality you have to take when you go out there. You can't go out there with fear. Even if you got to respect the guy all the time, but you can't fear him.
You talk about that idea of, going out there, having fun, not fearing. I want to read a quote here. It's from Michael Strahan.
Oh, yeah.
This says, talking about Mr. Ogden, he said, he's a laugher. You see him, you think to yourself, this guy is not mean enough to handle the mean guys out here in the NFL. Jonathan would rip your limbs off and he'd smile and wave your arm in front of you. What was that approach? How do you come up with that approach? Is it just, the little kid in you saying, hey, we're playing a game and we're out here on the field having fun, but at the same time, having to go up against guys like Michael Strahan?
I always say this, to play offensive linemen, especially at the NFL level, you're not quite sane, because you have to enjoy inflicting and getting hit and hitting people. So I used to just enjoy the actual domination of another person. So I would laugh at it. It was fun. It's like, why am I kicking your bleep right now? This is really funny to me. And they'd get irritated. But I mean, But yes, I mean, I had to enjoy playing the game. That's kind of what I enjoyed. I enjoyed dominating. I enjoyed ripping people's arms off and holding them, as Mike would say. But I'd also help you up too. I'd be like, all right, get on up, back to the huddle, do it again next play. But I mean, that's how I kept the game fun, and it's helpful being very talented, and that doesn't hurt. So,
you mentioned a few guys, Michael Strahan. You mentioned, Hall of Famer Derek Thomas, maybe a Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney. We're going to find out tonight.
Should be a Hall of Famer.
Tune in, NFL Honor Show tonight. You're going to find out the newest class of 2024. We'll get back to that here in a second. But I want to talk about, those playing against those guys, and more specifically, your welcome to the NFL moment. Do you remember a time, whether it's practice, coming into the NFL with a guy like Ray Lewis and being connected to him? Was there a welcome to the NFL moment where you realized, like, all right, this isn't college anymore, this is real? You're lined up across from a guy you idolize, things like that.
Yes and no. Yeah, I'll put it like this: there was a moment when I got accepted by my teammates. As a rookie, you got to prove yourself immediately. It doesn't really matter, especially as a first-round pick. So I remember in training camp, we were going against one-on-one pass rush, and there was a guy, Dan Footman, who was one of the better pass rushers, and I played guard as a rookie, so it was like a whole new experience for me because I played tackle my entire career. Anyway, we lined up for a one-on-one pass rush drill, and literally, like, the ball snapped, and I took my set, and, like, Dan tried to do a little shake, and I just stabbed him right in the chest, and he literally, like, did my back, and, like, I looked back at the other offensive linemen, they kind of like, ooh, this guy's pretty good. Like he's pretty talented. So there was that, like, when my teammates accepted me. But the welcome to the NFL moment when I was like, this ain't college anymore. We were playing against the Green Bay Packers. And this is my rookie year, obviously. I was a guard again. And some of you guys might not know this name. Gilbert Brown was a nose tackle for the Packers, about 360 pounds, about 6'2", little fire plug. Anyway, I'm trying to do a combination block with my center. And so I hit Gilbert, and literally the center goes, and Gilbert, like, takes me, and I'm about to start driving. He takes me, throws me on my head, basically. And then he tackles the running back for like a 1 yard gain or loss, excuse me. And he had this little thing called the grave digger where he would like take a shovel and do this. And he did that right over my head. And I was like, whew, I got to get a little tougher. This ain't college no more, because that would never happen to me in college. So that was the welcome to the NFL moment when you realize that these are men out here, and you better come bring your lunch to work every day. And but that was the moment, and then I progressed and got better, obviously. But look, everyone's gonna have a moment in the NFL, especially. I mean, everybody gets paid and everybody's talented, so it's all about like how much you work, how much film you study, what can you do to get an advantage on the guys you're playing against, because the talent is going to be pretty even, but the difference is in your preparation.
How do you feel? Obviously you've seen successes, Super Bowls, Hall of Fame. Yeah. Obviously, the pinnacle of the football career is to wear the jacket you have on. Going throughout your career, how'd you remain humble when all these accolades are rolling in and they're telling you how good you are? How do you remain humble in a situation like that?
Because you don't really listen to all the noise. You know that listening to all the noise doesn't really do you any good for the next play or the next day or getting ready. It's all about the narrow focus of like, how can I be great this play, this week, this game? And when you start to like look too far down the road, especially in sports, it start to like get comfortable. I mean, who was I was talking to? I cannot remember who it was at a Pro Bowl once, but I think it was about our 4th Pro Bowl, and like he had the thought of like, you know what, man, if I keep this level of play up, the Hall of Fame is a possibility, but then you kind of have to snap back into realization, be like, you know what, that's so far down the line. We got to just worry about next season. We got to worry about this offseason, how we're going to get strong in the weight room. And I forgot who I was talking to about that, but we were both going through the same kind of thing. So it's just about not getting too far. You have goals, but you got to work within the now. You got to work with what you're doing there.
I like that. All right, we're going to go out to another school for one of our questions. So we're going to go out to Stony Point Elementary for our next question. So our folks there at Stony Point, go ahead and walk up to the camera and unmute your microphone. And then student, go ahead and state your name and then go ahead with your question.
I'm Ryan Brennan, and I would like to ask, who was your biggest rival?
Biggest rival.
Biggest rival, huh? Well, like I said, for personal, for like the guys I played against, there were some guys. I'll put it like this: the teams who we had were our rivals were Pittsburgh and pretty much Pittsburgh. I mean, that was a rival. There was Jacksonville, Tennessee earlier, but Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a guy named Joey Porter who liked to talk a lot of trash. His son is actually on the Steelers now. But his dad liked to talk a lot of trash, and we would go at it quite a bit. But it was always a respectful trash talk. But yeah, no, I would also say Tennessee Titans and Jacksonville Jaguars were also our nemesis as well. But we had to get past them in order to win the Super Bowl in 2000. So what we did. So
that is a great segue. Thank you for your question there at some point. Great segue. We got a question coming in from one of our live viewers. This is from Tottenville High School. They want to know, what was the mentality of the 2001 team that won the Super Bowl?
Oh, it went through so many peaks and valleys. I mean, we started off kind of hot, then we stopped scoring touchdowns. We got to be 5-4, but when Trent Dilfer took over, the mentality that developed and that we ended up with was play lights out defense, play a super physical running game, don't make any mistakes on offense, try not to make any turnovers, and try to make one or two big plays a game. You know, Trent Dilfer, who was not one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, but he was really smart. He's like, I'm not going to try to do anything stupid. I know how we have a historically great defense, and we're not going to mess it up by doing stupid things. So, you know, when people ask me, like, well, do you feel like defense gets too much credit? I'm like, no, it was still a team effort. Our defense was all-time great, but we did a little bit. You know, Jamal Lewis could run the ball. Mm-hmm. I could block. Shannon Sharp could catch the ball. So we had a little bit of juice on offense, and it was enough to get a Lombardi. So I'm happy about that.
What is that moment like? You know, obviously we're going to see it. We're going to see it on Sunday.
Yes.
The trophy. Now, obviously, both of these teams, they've seen success recently. Yes. So it's nothing like no one's been waiting 40, 50 years. But, you know, putting your hands on that Lombardi trophy, you know, raising it in the air, getting the hat, the shirt, as goofy as it might sound. Oh, no. What is that feeling like when that final horn goes off?
It is one of the best feelings that you can ever experience in sport. I mean, it's because you know how hard you've worked. You know only one team can get there to the mountaintop. And when you hear "We Are the Champions," I think that's what was playing at ours by Queen, and the confetti's falling, and you realize there's no other game afterwards, and you're about to hoist the trophy. It's just like an unbelievable feeling. Like I have attained sport heaven. You know, you really have. It's the top of the mountain, because I never won a championship at any level until that. So I mean, just to be a Super Bowl champion was unbelievable.
You talked about winning that Super Bowl. You know, obviously, if you're a football fan, you know how good that defense was that won that Super Bowl. For you, though, you know, how much did that great defense make you a better player? Because yeah, that great defense, but you're going up against them the other 6 days out of the week. How did that help you become a better player, going up against guys like that?
You know, just like Ray Lewis likes to say, iron sharpens iron, you know, so the more you work against great players, the better off you're going to be. So I would work to try to make them better. Michael McCrary, Peter Boulware, our pass rushers, Sam Adams, and, you know, vice versa. But, you know, we would never go too hard and try to injure each other in practice. It was all about trying to maintain timing, tempo, and then we'd save it all to unleash it on the other team on Sunday.
That's so cool. Got one more school we want to get to here remotely. So we're going to go to Canton South High School, back again home in Stark County, just a few miles down the road from the Hall of Fame. So our folks there at Canton South, go ahead and unmute your microphone, have the students step up, state their name, and then go ahead with their question. You're right there. You're talking.
My name is Ethan, and I have a question for you. Yes. So you played in 177 games, and you started in 176. Why? Yeah. Why didn't you start in that one game?
One game. Well, what had happened was I actually was coming off of an injury, and I was coming off of it was actually my last year playing, and it was my first game back. I had hurt my toe really badly, torn the ligaments in it the year before, and like I literally missed like the first I want to say 5 games of the 2007 season. And then I think in the 6th game, they kind of said, we want to ease you back in, so we're going to start the other guy and we'll let you come in and get a series and see how it feels. And so that's kind of why I didn't start that game. It was kind of one of those things, but no, I didn't get benched or anything. I wasn't being punished, no.
Offensive linemen, usually don't get a lot of recognition unless you do something wrong.
Right.
But your career, 2 touchdown catches.
2 touchdown catches.
What were those like? And did you go to the coach and say, hey, I want to catch a touchdown, or did they come to you?
Players make plays. That's what I tell them. You know what I'm saying? You got to get me involved. No. I mean, look, it's always fun to go make a touchdown. I didn't do it a whole lot, didn't do it all in college. And what they would do is they would have me go out to tight end on the short yardage goal line package, and you work on the play in practice. I don't know how many guys here on the football team, but you know how you have a play that you'll work on like for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it won't get called. But then all of a sudden it gets called. And so when they actually called my short yardage goal line touchdown, I was so amazed. But I know one thing, I was gonna get open. I wasn't gonna mess it up. So I mean, I'm 2 for 2 for 2. And yeah, I mean, you gotta get your athletes involved. O-linemen, we're athletes, man. Don't let us fool you. You know what I'm saying? We get stuff done.
We've talked about the beginning of your career. I want to focus now at the end. And you mentioned, you said you had a little gas left in the tank, but you were able to walk away on your own terms. Yeah. How important was that for you? And, what was that transition out of the game like?
It wasn't very difficult. I loved playing football for most of my life. I loved playing football for 10 years in professional football, but the last 2, number 11 I liked, number 12 was incredibly difficult. Because of my toe, like I was just mentioning. And, I was battling a lot of injuries. I could still play, but it just wasn't me doing what, in my mind, I thought I should have been doing. And I actually was telling somebody this, how they asked me, when did I know it was time for me to retire? I was saying I was playing at Seattle, and we're coming out of a TV timeout, and the 12th man in Seattle, I mean, it's the loudest stadium you'll ever be in. You can't hear Jake right here. And literally, I'm just watching it, and I'm just sitting there thinking in my head, I would much rather be anywhere else but right here, right now. And I mean, that's just because I was just so frustrated with the way I was feeling. And when I said that in my mind, I snapped out of it immediately, said, focus. But the minute I said that, I just knew that I was probably going to be done. Because it's just the commitment and the effort that you got to put in, the time and the work, in the weight room, in the training room, in the film room. It's hard work. Mm-hmm. And if you can't be what you want to be after 12 years, then it's just time. And that's why I could walk away happily and be like, you know what, my resume is what it is. Let's just see what happens.
One of the things we have noted here is that, you did start your own foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about the Ogden Family Foundation and some of the great things you guys are doing to support local communities?
Well, I have a foundation in Baltimore right now, Jonathan Ogden Foundation. And what we've been doing is we've been working with a high school similar to all the other schools that are around. And what we're doing is we're trying to educate the kids in life skills. We're trying to get them tutoring. They're kids who are in underserved area of Baltimore that some haven't been more than like 2-3 miles from the school in their house. But what we're doing is we're trying to get them college visits, get them scholarships for the kids who actually want to find a way. All these kids basically say, I want to better my life. Can you help me better my life? And if they're willing to put in the work, we will show them. We give them the tools and things they need to succeed. We've had 500 some kids graduate over the last 20 years. And, it's been really productive, and it's been really fulfilling for me to watch these kids, what they've become.
How important was that for you to start that and give back? And was there a moment in your career or your life that told you this is something I need to do?
It wasn't a moment specifically, but I just kind of understood that when you have success, that if you can give back, it only is going to help the community. And I just thought that sports and academics had such an impact on me becoming the person who I am, that if I could find kids who had the same aspirations and I can help them, especially those who were in situations where, like, literally, like, some of these kids, like, didn't have money to, like, go get a meal, so just things like that. If I can help those kids improve their lives, then was worth it to me.
Awesome. All right. We got some more questions from our folks here right at Foothill. Anybody got a question? Go ahead in the back.
Ray Lewis, I got two more questions to ask you. And for the
go ahead.
Yeah, we'll go back. Go back.
how did you feel for the Baltimore Ravens when they lost? And the second question is, who is you going for the Super Bowl?
I mean, how did I feel like when the Ravens lost? I felt like somebody just stabbed me right in the chest and like turned the no. You know, it's disappointing. But you know what? Like I said to you guys earlier, 32 teams, only one team is going to finish the year really, really happy. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm proud of my Ravens and the year they had, proud of what Lamar did this year. I just wish they hadn't picked the AFC Championship game to play their worst game of the year.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because the game was rigged.
But I'm going to pick Kansas City to win because their defense is playing really well, and it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Even though I'd probably rather see San Francisco win, I can't bet against Kansas City.
All right, thanks for that question there. All right, we're going to go back to our question right here at Foothill. Go ahead.
How many career tackles did you have?
Career tackles that I have. Okay, I don't know the number exactly. I definitely remember at least 2 good tackles because most of them on interceptions because our quarterbacks were terrible and they threw a lot of picks. But, you know, there were times when I tried to really get somebody pretty good on interception, but actually at the end of my career, I wasn't trying to make a tackle on interceptions. I was running for deep third. I just didn't want to get hit.
All right, we got another question from our students right here at Foothill. Go ahead and raise your hand. State name. Go ahead with your question.
Luke Abbott, and you said that you were a 4-star in high school, and I was going to ask you, what was that process like to get to that point? Especially back then when it's it's a lot harder to get recognized.
Yeah, it was weird because I didn't really do anything because the whole, like you said, the process was different. So it wasn't like anything that we did as high school students. Like USA Today just came and said this, or Tom Lemming just kind of did a report on you. This social age is a little different because you guys can promote yourselves a little more and try to actually get people to see you. It was more difficult than that. So in some ways I was more fortunate and I just had to go to practice and just do what I do and not really worry about it. Yeah, because I don't envy you guys in this day and age sometimes with the whole social thing. It's, oh God, I would have been awful in college with social media. My goodness, we would have been awful.
Before we focus on some of the stuff going on here, we're in Las Vegas this week. Everybody can't see them, but we do have the football team, but we also have the girls flag football team from the high school in here as well. So can you just talk a little bit about, how important that is and the movement to get girls involved in NFL flag, and even tackle, and how cool is it to see football becoming this sport that's transcending so much?
Like I mentioned, football is just a great game. It teaches a lot of lessons, like you said as well. And you don't necessarily have to tackle to play football. I mean, flag is fine. I just think all sport just good to stay healthy and good to just stay focused, and it's good to work with each other and all the things that we all talk about that we learn from football, both boys and girls can learn. So I'm very happy to hear and see that we have both teams here because football's a great game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great game. It's a fun sport, and you learn a lot of life lessons from it. You really do.
Obviously I played the game. I joked earlier, I retired after high school. Yeah. Which just means I wasn't good enough to play at the next level. But, I still have relationships with my high school coaches, and I'm sure you have relationships with coaches all throughout your career. So how important was it for you to keep those relationships, and how much did coaches impact your career? So something all these athletes in here, we have coaches in here as well. Obviously they're hard on you, they're coaching you, they're tough on you, but at the end of the day, it's out for your own good. So what are some of the messages that your coaches taught you, and how important is it to take those to heart and know that it's a good thing?
No, I mean, it's the same, work hard, be on time, be committed, and you learn most of these lessons. You guys will learn most of these lessons now, okay? Because the higher level up, the less influence a coach will have on who you are, So definitely take advantage when you have good coaches like you guys have here who are willing to put in the time and in the hours and just be there for you and help with whatever you need, because I still do talk to my high school coach, occasionally, and he had a tremendous influence on who I was. He told me, he said, you know what, I think I was a senior in high school, and he's like, you know what, Jonathan, if you do what you need to do. He said, I think that you might be able to become one of the best linemen ever play. And I was like, but to hear that from him meant something. I don't know if I really believed him at the time, but it kind of put something in there to say, you know what, this guy believes in me. Maybe I can just keep going, just keep pushing forward a little bit more. So yeah, just, really take advantage and respect the relationship that you have with these people in here because they're really looking out for you guys.
We mentioned it earlier. This evening, 6 o'clock-ish local time,
right.
9 o'clock Eastern time. A group of individuals are going to find out that they are the newest members of the class, the newest members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the class of 2024. So we want to flash back to your time.
Right.
What was, it's different now than it was, but what was that phone call like when they said, Jonathan Ogden, you're in the Pro Football Hall
Well,
of Fame?
see, mine was a little different. It was before David Baker had started the knock and everything, and it was actually the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2013. So I was down in New Orleans getting ready for the game because it was actually the night before the game when they did the announcement in that day. So I just remember that entire day. I was really like a complete nervous wreck. I knew the Ravens were going to play in the game the next day, but I was just like pacing around and this. And what they had a Hall of Fame show, I guess, from a convention center or whatnot. And so I went into the convention center. They asked me to come down there, but I didn't know if I was going to get in yet or not. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're a shoo-in." Like, I was like, no one's a shoo-in. Don't ever say that. But like I'd say about 5 minutes before the show went on, the PR director from the Baltimore Ravens, Kevin Byrne, came up to me and said, "Congratulations. Thank you, you're in." And I was like, "Oh." But I mean, it really is like, it's a difficult feeling to describe. I mean, to just kind of realize that you are going to be enshrined as one of the greatest football players. You put in all that time for all those years, and to finally realize that you are going to get one of these rings, to get a jacket like this. It's a humbling, just exhausting. It's just everything you can think of, but it is one of the greatest days of my life. It really was. And then to be able to go out on that field during the Super Bowl with my Baltimore Ravens playing in the game and to get the ovation that I got from the crowd was just, it was something special.
Stole my next question right there. Who was first Hall of Famer to call and congratulate you? Once the news broke and was public, was there a Hall of Famer that reached out? Or
oh gosh, I don't even really remember. It was such a whirlwind. Like I literally went from the show to something else to getting ready for the game, and then the game, and it was just getting measured. I mean, it was just a blur. I was so thankful that it was over, so to speak. I still had to give the speech in Canton. I knew that was coming up, but just to know that I was in was great.
What was the enshrinement process like? We don't have to go super in depth. Can you tell a little bit about, you get the call, you're in the Hall of Fame, you get recognized at the Super Bowl, and then there's months of preparation that comes after that. What are some of the things you did throughout that time, and what was it like to stand up on stage and give that culminating speech to really wrap up?
Well, you have to do things to get prepped for the ceremony. You have to do the bust, so a guy comes out and he takes measurements of my head, and then we did a clay model, and we did everything required for that. You got to get ready for the jacket. So Hager does the measurements. You have to get ready for your party, and you have to get all your friends. You have to get everyone you've known since elementary school who wants to come and be part of the whole thing. From elementary school to the pros, you had to go through numbers. You got 400 people, and then you got to figure out hotels, and then you have to figure out your speech, and then you're going to be nervous as hell, and you get up there on the stage and you get your speech, and then so it's a lot that goes into it. That year you go in, it is a whirlwind, it is a blur, but honestly, after that, it is like the most relaxing, chill environment to where we just kind of go hang out, play golf, reminisce, play the game that we play. Like, what would we make if we played in this era? We like to talk about that, but yeah, just enjoy each other's company and just enjoy being around each other. So it's a lot of fun.
Dance on stage as well.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Got a couple more questions here before we wrap up. Obviously, there's going to be, like we said, a new group of enshrinees that are coming in as part of this. So, as Jerry talked about, a fraternity that's really, really hard to get into. Obviously, we don't know the names, but if you could give that group, one piece of advice or, one welcoming quote, what would that thing that if you were sitting in there with them after they become members, what would you tell them?
I would just be like, savor every moment. Just try to hold on to the memories of every moment because it is going to be extremely busy, like I just said, but it's going to be awesome. I mean, so it really is just the top of the football world. It is the Mount Everest of the football world. So enjoy it, taking it. If you go to Mount Everest and don't look around, that would be kind of pointless. So make sure you look around while you're up there,
Awesome. All right. Well, we got one more question here for you before we wrap up. And so first off, I want to thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously we know that, you're from the area, so you are probably swamped with events this week. So we definitely appreciate you giving your time for this program today. So my last question is, and it's kind of the way we like to sum up all of our programs. It's just one last key point, piece of advice, nugget of information. If everybody watching today can only remember this one thing, it's either something we talked about earlier, something we haven't touched on yet. What would that one thing be that you want everybody to leave with today?
Wow, what would that be? I would say that I just want everyone in here to just, not just about football, but in life, how are we going to not be average? There's a reason the word average is average, and because most people are. And we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to improve? How are we going to break out of that? And we're going to do that by trying to develop a plan and try to execute said plan and try to keep ourselves focused on a plan. So I say whatever we need to maintain focus in our lives because we want to be better than average. We don't want to be just average. And so if there was one thing I would leave you with, is just focus on trying to attain what you want and just have that laser focus and just enjoy life at the same time.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks, featuring Hall of Famer Jonathan Ogden. Let's give him another big round of applause for being here today. Again, Jonathan, thank you so much for being part of the program today, and truly thank you for everything you've done for the game of football and everything you're going to continue to do for us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, for myself, everybody at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Ogden, and all of the students tuned in, we want to thank you so much for watching today, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.